So I'll just kick things off.
So was that live?
Is it live? Right now?
Stop.
So we are live. Hey, see, I told you. We're still working out the bugs. Hey guys, we're back live for another edition of the Mayor's Morning Show.
It's our director.
It's our backstage crew. That's the problem. So anyway, welcome back. This is, I think, month 5 or 6 now that we've been doing kind of our new format, where I'm your host, and then I have a co-host with me who is always one of our department heads. So this month we are focusing on economic development. So I'm here with Nick Durksen, our economic development director. And so anyway, before I'll turn a few minutes over to Nick just to kind of introduce himself and his team and kind of how long he's been here and what economic development does for all of us out there that need a little explanation. But before that, I just wanted to touch base on a couple of things. The first one was give you guys a big thank you. I received a ton of support and messages of encouragement during my recent back surgery. So I'm here, so everything went fairly well. Still a little sore, but we are getting back to it. And I feel bad I missed the 4th of July, but thank you to all of you who came down and participated. We had a great day of events here at City Hall. So anyway, I hope everybody had a great 4th of July. So do we have any questions we need to follow up on from last month that I think we've gotten back to everybody privately by email. So, okay. So with that, let me turn a minute over to Nick to just introduce himself and his team and kind of what you guys do around here.
So my name's Nick Durksen. I'm the Economic Development Director for Sandy, but I'm also the Director of the Redevelopment Agency, which is a separate entity here within the city. We have a staff of 3 total. I've been with the city, I just started this next week, my 27th year with Sandy City. So I've been here a long time, seen a lot of changes, both in economic development and community development. I've had the opportunity to work in both departments over my tenure with Sandy. So married and 6 kids, 9 grandkids, and I love working here at Sandy, and it's been a great place for me and my family. So it's great to be here.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. And we should point out, we are in the new Economic Development Suite.
Yes.
So if anybody's had a chance to come down to City Hall recently, you know that Nick and his team were sort of in a hallway/closet area. So we are super excited that we've been able to, and a big thank you to our facilities staff that did the actual labor and construction, but they have a beautiful new suite here on the east side of City Hall. So if you make your way down here, you got to come by and check out we all have office envy around here, so this is the place to be.
It works very well.
So we're excited to be here today. So how's our online presence? Any questions coming in yet? Okay. So as always, remember, we'd love to hear from you live if you're out there. Feel free to fire away a question. We'll take any question, but we're trying to focus mostly on economic development today to kind of keep it on topic. So so while we're waiting for a couple to run questions come live, why don't you tell us just briefly, Nick, kind of what's your role as economic development director, and what's kind of the goal for the department?
Economic development really has 3 main functions. The first function everyone knows about is recruitment, trying to bring companies, businesses, and those kinds of services to our community. Second is that we are our marketing arm of the city. We try to promote the city and promote what we do as a city and why this is a great place, not only to do business, but to live, work, and play. And third is business retention. We also work with our local companies that are here and help them with expansion as well as recruitment for job force and those kinds of things. So those are our 3 primary functions, and then there's lots of things under that have to do with property management, buying and selling of ground, working with the legislature on different kinds of legislation that helps economic development and job force enhancement, those kinds of things. So it can be quite varied, and we work very closely with every department in the city. Economic development relies on good land use development, which is our community development department. It requires good infrastructure, which is public works and public utilities, open space and quality of life, so working with parks and recreation. So we have the good fortune to work with all the departments here in Sandy to make Sandy a better place.
Yeah, and Nick and his team are very busy, so you'll see Nick all around testifying on the Hill. You'll see him at conferences. He's everywhere. So a very integral part to our city. So we're very grateful for what you do. So, okay, so let's go ahead, and we did get a couple of questions that came in kind of overnight or throughout the week. So we'll start with those, and Nick and I will just kind of give our answers to those questions. So let's start off with Erin Dixon. So she said, my question for Mr. Durksen is, what is the current balance of property tax income and sales tax, and in your opinion, is it a good ratio? Are you looking to grow business sales tax income? And also, what makes a modern shopping mall successful? Probably a time machine going back about 25 years ago. Southtown Mall has quite a few empty store spaces, and what changes need to be made, public or economic, to prevent a gateway type situation? So a couple questions embedded in there. Number one, I guess we'll talk about the property tax, sales tax split, and then sort of what makes a shopping mall successful. But really, I think what makes retail successful. I think that's what we're all wondering is, in the era of online sales and Amazon, and how does traditional retail malls and whatnot
So
continue to work?
let's take the Southtown shops in Southtown first. So malls in general across the country are going through an evolution right now and kind of a repositioning, and our mall is no different. We are fortunate to have really good owners, Pacific Retail. They are really capture what needs to be done. With respect to the vacancies that you see, that's actually a product of them replacing tenants. So you do see some closures in there. That's because they're in the midst of bringing in new shops to the mall. So it's not a closure because they're not doing well. In fact, the mall's foot traffic since some of the renovations is up 20%. So they are in the process of re-tenanting the mall. So that's some of the closure that you see.
And it's a different feel too.
Absolutely.
You start to see things like Round One, and it's more of an experience type, rather than just a shopping. It's a holistic.
Right, and that's what makes a mall successful. Is malls understand they have to have experiential kinds of things. So you're going to see the shops at Southtown bring more food, more recreation, more entertainment, as well as new shopping shopping opportunities.
Yeah, awesome. So then let's talk a little bit about property tax and sales tax. So just so everybody's kind of on the same page, a city basically has a few different revenue streams. One of them is property tax, which is levied on most of our real property around the city. We have sales tax that we get a percentage of, both sales within the county, but then also sales from here in Sandy, and then we have some fees that come from like telecom services and things like that. But so the main drivers are property tax and sales tax. So so here in Sandy, we have a fairly I would say not unbalanced, but we're fairly heavily dependent on sales tax revenue for our general fund money. Those are the things we use to fund our everyday operations like police and fire. And so last time, I think this most recent budget, we're looking at about 2/3 of our general fund money comes from sales tax, and about 1/3 from property tax and those franchise taxes. So, so Nick, why don't you give us sort of your opinion on kind of that is our current mix. Do you like that mix? Do you want to move to more of a 50-50 split? Do you think tell us kind of where you're...
Well, ultimately, the balance of property tax versus sales tax is a policy decision.
Yeah.
And I think it falls for our council to decide what that ratio is. Now, what can be said is, because of the tax structure in Utah, most cities rely on sales tax significantly to get for the revenues. As far as efficiencies, one of the questions that she asked was growing our sales tax base, and yes, so, but not in the token that what we're trying to do is just simply grow square footage of retail. What we really want to do is we want to take our existing retail and make it more profitable. So retail sales tax is measured a number of ways, but one of the ways in economic development we measure it is sales per square foot. So what we try to do is get the sales per square foot of our retail greater. So if you have a business that's doing, let's say, $400 per square foot, our goal is to try to get them to $700 per square foot. And the same holds true on the office side. That's why you see the capital investment. The property tax side, we want to build more quality office buildings because they then are assessed higher, which will then create not only more property tax for us, but it also helps us bring in really good office tenants and good jobs. So we try to balance those, but we try to be efficient with what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Nick's point is right on. He mentioned we want to have an environment where people can live, work, and play. It's really kind of taking every dollar that's spent and trying to capitalize it as much as possible. So if we have good, office tenants, that'll lead to good jobs, which then leads to people, working here, which then they'll hopefully after work go to a game or go to the mall and spend more money. And it all works together. So we absolutely want to continue to drive a successful sales tax environment, but do it through all of these different channels.
You want it to be sustainable, want quality, so you look at all of those factors.
Right. Absolutely. Okay, great. Any, nothing yet? Okay. Are people actually watching?
I can submit something if you want.
Yeah, we'll have Jamie just submit one so we feel liked. Okay. Another question that came in, so we'll switch kind of from a business focus to a residential focus. So Betty Van Pelt asked, with the increase in high density housing in Sandy, what is being done to spread the taxes for schools to more of the residents, especially those with kids? So I'm a little unclear about, I think maybe what you're referring to, Betty, is the fact that a lot of our high density housing maybe is confined to one particular area, and that puts a little bit more pressure on that school that's around it. But we don't actually, there's not actually a way to spread taxes around, like Nick alluded to. Policy decisions are made by lawmakers, but we're really not able to spread taxes around other than, just general development. So in other words, if a real property is developed, we then get additional tax money from the development of that property. But we don't have an artificial way to take that person's tax value or amount and spread it somewhere else. There is absolutely extra pressure placed on schools. We saw this in some of our developments around the city when we have a 400 or 500 unit development go in, or a couple of those within a school boundary. It obviously puts a lot more pressure on those schools, but I think the school district, has a way of working through that.
Well, they have a board,
Yeah.
and they have their own funding mechanism,
Right.
and so the school board is elected, and
Right.
what she's talking about is exactly what they do,
Right.
which is how do they disperse those funds.
Right. So, anyway, hopefully that sort of answers the question. But we are, from a strategic standpoint, I think one of the things that I've been most impressed with Sandy about, even as a resident before I became the mayor, was I felt like Sandy had a really strategic, sort of intelligent approach to development. I feel like for the most part, our high density developments are located where they make sense for the infrastructure needs and for access to transportation and things like that. And so we will continue to try to locate those developments, the high density ones, where we feel like it makes the most sense for the city as a whole. So, okay. We have one.
Yeah, you have two questions. The first one is Marceline, I hope I'm saying it right. Also concerned about affordability to live in Sandy. Many families not only struggle to rent, but struggling even to buy a home. This is what is sustainable. What are your thoughts? Any ideas of future projects around this?
Yes. So we have a lot of thoughts. So I'll let Nick take it first, and then I'll jump in.
So even in the economic development arena, affordable housing and actually housing pricing throughout the spectrum is very important because you're bringing in jobs at lots of different wages. So we take a strong look at housing prices. In the redevelopment agency, which economic development is also charged with administering, we actually have an affordable housing program. So far, we have built 3 homes. We're getting ready to build 2 more, and we've provided funding to help offset affordable housing costs. The biggest struggle in Sandy for affordable housing is frankly the cost of the ground, and so that's usually where we're able to help the most, is offsetting those costs. But it's absolutely in the top priority realm of what we're trying to do. And you may think of it only as something that maybe community development or other departments deal with, but it has a huge implication on economic development as well. And so we look at it regularly, and we have programs within economic development to address that.
Yeah. And this has been something that we've talked about endlessly as we get together as groups of elected officials. We talk a lot about, it's a big concern for all of our residents, is how do we make living in these great cities more affordable along the Wasatch Front. So one of the things that has kind of been a hallmark of our administration has been trying to develop public-private partnerships where we can solve some of these problems. It's going to be very difficult for government alone to handle affordable housing because it is mostly market-driven. But there are you start to see partners in the community starting to step up to help with this issue. So you'll start to see different banks step up with sort of affordable housing funds where they'll work with developers to maybe make a project work longer term, make it easier to lend to them so the project can pencil for the developer. So I think this is an area that's ripe for a lot of these public-private partnerships where you'll see developers and banks and municipalities work together to try to provide more affordable means of living.
Some of the affordable housing we've actually constructed is a partnership with the school
exactly,
district.
yeah.
We've partnered with the school district in the CTEC program.
Yeah.
We've made the land available. They provided students who get the education of how to build a home, design a home, do the
Absolutely.
landscaping, interior design.
Yeah.
So those kids get an opportunity to do that kind of work. And at the end of the day, we have a home that we've been able to make available at a reduced price for affordable housing.
Absolutely.
So like I said, we've done 3 so far. We're getting ready to do 2 more.
Yeah. So we'll continue to find ways like that where we can hopefully contribute to a more affordable environment. But it is a big concern for all of us. So we'll keep at it. And we want to continue to hear from you. If you have ideas or suggestions or things you want us to look at, we're happy to talk about that.
So
Okay.
there is a follow-up question from Ms. Brown as well. She's asking, how are we promoting these affordable living programs, or affordable housing programs? I apologize. That she has not been aware of that. So is there sources?
The program that we've been doing most recently has been done through the school district, when partnering with them. So they've actually been providing the promotion on that, not directly from the city, but from the school district.
Okay.
And same with some of these funds. Zions Bank is one, for example,
Correct.
that's promoting their affordable housing fund. But you'll start to hear more and more as I think the private sector gets on board with, just wanting to make an investment in their community. They want to give back. This is a great way to be able to do that, to work with developers to make lending easier and more affordable, which then makes the development more affordable for homeowners and renters. So. Okay.
And then we do have one more question from a resident. What is the downtown area in Sandy, and what are the plans for this area?
Perfect. So this is a good shameless plug. The camera loves Nick, and he's actually the star of one of our new promotional videos about the Cairns area. So our downtown area in Sandy is called the Cairns District. It runs from essentially 90th South-ish, 8600 South, down to about 114 South. And it includes a number of our assets, and like the stadium and the theater, Shields, our auto mall, that we could go on and on, the expo center. But I'll have Nick talk for just a minute. But just so you all know, we're trying to do a big educational push around our downtown area, the Cairns, so you get a better understanding of kind of what the vision is and what we're working toward. And like I said, Nick stars in our first of those videos that we'll be rolling out soon, but look for more of those. We're also trying to set up some tours around our downtown area to help give you a better sense of kind of what's going on, especially as some of these newer projects break ground. So I'll turn some time over to Nick to talk a little bit about the Cairns.
So the Cairns District is really born out of a process that was started in 2010. And that's when we were looking at our downtown area and saying, we have these really great pieces, but we don't have the connectivity that we want. So we did what was called a master planning process. I hate to even use that word. It was really kind of a development process. And it included multiple functions. It included some land assemblage. It included obviously some land use planning. It included some marketing and some analysis. We spent almost 2 years just doing data gathering, constraints analysis, that kind of thing. But what came out of that was what we have now as the Cairns District. And what we learned is that we have organically an opportunity to have a suburban downtown, not Salt Lake City, but Sandy City, and its own downtown, and that fits our goals and objectives and our lifestyle. And what that is, as we've learned and gone through the public information process and public hearings and analysis, is our connection to the mountains and our ability to have a place where you can live, work, and play and move easily, and you can, and it works well for families, it works well for single professionals, it works well for any kind of individual. And the pieces are that we bring housing, and we bring entertainment, and we bring jobs, and we bring new types of shopping experience, and we diversify what is going to be Sandy's downtown, but in a way that meets and is Sandy and not someone else. And so we're a few years into it. It's been highly successful. We've brought in a lot of corporate level jobs. In the last 4 years, we've added over 5,000 corporate level jobs in Sandy, in our Cairns District. We have brought in Hale Center Theater. We've seen some expansions and redesigns of the mall. You're going to see new restaurants coming in. There'll be several announcements nearby. We're only just a few weeks away from the opening of Shake Shack, and there will be more of that kind of thing coming. And so the Cairns is Sandy's downtown, but it is very much that Sandy's downtown,
Right.
not someone else's, and not to be someone else, but to be us.
Yeah.
So
No, I love that. Yeah, it definitely has a unique Sandy feel. And I think Nick touched on a really important point, which is the accessibility and the walkability, the movability of the area. So you'll hopefully, as this takes shape, you'll feel that and experience that it's a really easy way to move around a downtown environment.
So one of the things that's coming, I think she asked what's
Yeah.
coming, right? So
Yeah.
hotels, working with 2 full-service hotel groups to come in. More office, of course, some more residential, more entertainment. Another big component infrastructurally is transportation, and that is including a transit system that moves you in this area from Frontrunner and Light Rail, which probably it actually allows us to cooperate and collaborate with South Jordan on.
Yeah.
So there's some real neat opportunity there, and it's a living, breathing thing. Will never be done. You have to keep going. I've said this before, and I said this in a Senate hearing recently. Economic development is a journey. It's not a destination. So you're never really done. You always have to be staying in front of things and keeping your city moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
And we do have a follow-up question along those lines. Is there any plans for nightlife in Sandy? My friends and I end up spending money in Salt Lake City because there really aren't any nice lounges in our own city.
So you sound like me. No, yes. The short answer is yes. It's part of just kind of the the natural transformation of things is we do want our people recreating here more, spending more of their money and their time here rather than having to go to Salt Lake City or Park City or somewhere else. And so I think you'll start to see more of a nightlife here in Sandy. That's been a focus as we've worked on some of these kind of sub plans like the stadium master plan and some of these other convention center hotel type places. As we work through those plans, I think Nick can speak to it too. But this has been a main focus for us: is how do we create more of a nightlife that doesn't just make sure Sandy shuts down at 5 when everybody goes home.
It's a big interest of the hotel groups
Yeah.
that we're working with.
Yeah.
Very important to the hotel groups.
Yeah. So yes, the short answer is yes. You'll see
Absolutely.
You'll see a much more vibrant nightlife.
Even the mall themselves are looking at that option as well. Shops at Southtown are looking at that option also.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then we have another question from Nick. I've heard talk of rebuilding the Alta Canyon Rec Center. Can we touch on that a little bit?
Yes, probably not so much a question for Nick in as much as it.
No, Nick is the person who asked the
Oh,
question.
sorry.
His name is Nick as well.
Yeah. As far as I know, he doesn't run Parks and Rec, but he does do pretty much everything around here. So, yes. So, a little bit, off topic, but happy to deal with it. So, Parks and Rec is obviously one of our core city assets. We feel like it's tremendously underutilized right now, and we haven't been able to make the investments in it that we need to, that our citizens want. So that is something we've been pushing hard for. We held a number of town halls to gather input from residents. We heard from almost 2,000 of you, and the majority of you wanted some type of renovation expansion of Alta Canyon. So now it's just a matter of finding the money for it. So yes, the short answer is it is high on our radar, our priority list. And actually, one of our upcoming Facebook Lives will be with Scott Earl, our Parks and Rec director. So we'll circle back to this topic. But yes, we are at Alta Canyon pretty much every day right now, my family and I, our 4 kids. And yes, we would love to see it expanded and built out. But finding a few $1 million, I still keep shaking Nick down for any extra change. But it's going to take a city investment to make that happen. So.
And we do have another question from Dee. How about a Sprouts in Sandy?
Yes.
I love the Sprouts.
So I have been in contact with them. I talked to them a couple of different times over the years. They have looked at Sandy on a couple of other opportunities, but didn't pull the trigger at the time. But they are a group that we have talked to in the past, and of course we would love to have them in Sandy as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, was that about good? Okay, we have one more from Peter Muscarello. Said, Mayor Bradburn and Mr. Durksen, I live in the historic Sandy neighborhood and I have only one provider of high-speed internet to my house. Can we do something to foster some competition so I don't have to pay for bad service? Thank you. Peter, I feel your pain. For a long time we only had one as well. Now we have Comcast as well, so there is some competition. But and probably not so much a question for Nick, but just generally speaking, just so everybody knows, and in fact, a upcoming Facebook Live will be with Tom Ward, our Public Utilities Director. But really, kind of the future of data and internet is not so much kind of the hardwiring in the ground. It's more of the wireless technology, the 5th generation technology you see coming out. So there's really not a lot of internet providers that I'm aware of that are investing more in fiber optic in the ground. Most of them now are coming in with what we call our small cell towers and expanding their 5G coverage. So unfortunately, in the conversations I've had with Comcast and CenturyLink and some of the other ones, all of the conversations have revolved around how can we get 1,000 or more of these small cell towers in your city, not how can we run more fiber optic lines through your city. It's just the nature of we're all on iPads and iPhones, and it's a much more data driven world. And so unfortunately, over the next 10 years or so, I would say the massive investment is going to come in that wireless tech connectivity, not so much the hardwiring in the ground.
If you look at how Google Fiber has slowed down deployment, I mean, that kind of sends a message.
Exactly. So anyway, but hopefully we will have, and so we'll talk to Tom Ward about this when he's here, but we will have a very vibrant and well-connected 5G network here very soon. So that's going to help with a lot of things, not only your businesses that you run, but the way the city runs our first responding and even parking and all kinds of stuff. We'll have connected parking garages that will talk to each other. It'll be a much more seamless environment, that 5G world. So it's not all negative. It's a good thing, but yeah.
We created a fact brief around this topic too. So
we did. That's right. Because someone asked us. Yes, there is a fact brief on this. Jamie just reminded me. And you get to those. Another shameless plug. You can get to them in the app if you go to the hamburger menu. I think under information.
I'm not sure exactly.
Okay, but also on the website you can get to it. And we'll put the link, we'll post it on the Facebook Live video here to the link on the website. But we have a number of fact briefs. These are basically our way of trying to take kind of city lingo and jargon and put it into layman's terms that hopefully everybody can understand on some of these complex topics. So there's one on 5G versus kind of fiber optic and hard cable wiring. So it's a good one. It's a good read, and it's relatively short. So. Okay, I think we overloaded everybody.
Yeah, we're good on questions.
Okay.
So.
All right, Nick, anything you want to add in parting?
Just a pleasure to work in Sandy
And spend all your money here.
I appreciate it. And if you ever have a question, I think probably where I can help a lot of residents is they hear rumors.
Yeah.
Sometimes those rumors are accurate, but oftentimes they're not.
Yeah.
And you hear something you're not sure, feel free to call our office. We're happy to help with anything like that. If you have a suggestion or something that would help you believe the city from a job creation standpoint or services or retail, whatever it may be, please let us know. We are always looking for that kind of input. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're off screen, but Nick's staff is here. So Vicki is the executive assistant here, and Casey, I'm not exactly sure what your exact title is. Something director.
Senior project manager.
Project manager, director, sir, is also here. So in case you call and get one of them, that's who they are. But anyway, as always, a tremendous honor and pleasure for Nick and I both to serve you guys. We appreciate all you do, and please let us know, like Nick said, if there's anything we can do to help you out or do better. We always want to hear from you. So until next month, have a great month, and we'll talk to you soon.